Two of the proponents of measure number 2 that faced really some significant opposition today from the room and the panel, but did a great job of laying out their case, are with us now to talk a little bit about this. Charlene Nelson and Bob Hale of the Empower the Taxpayer Group. Charlene, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Scott. I appreciate it.
What did you think of the debate, Bob?
It's pretty typical in a group like this. This group came out early on in opposition to it, pulled all of their groups together. What we find is these groups are now out speaking, and they're talking the same talking points. We've contacted many of the people on the boards of these groups that they say are all opposed to it. Asked them if they've read the measure, and 9 out of 10 haven't read the measure. In fact, the brochure that the Kill North Dakota or Keep It Local North Dakota group has, it's in their first paragraph, they misquote the measure, and they misquote it in a manner that turns it 180 degrees on its head. We've told them about this, and they says, well, people can read it. That was just a typo.
So what is the, and this is an issue that I want to ask you both about because it's come up quite a bit, is it has to do with the uncertainty created by the definition of saying that the legislature must fully and properly fund all legally imposed obligations of state government. So, first of all, what is the correct language?
Well, the correct language isn't legally imposed obligation of state government, it's of the political subdivisions. And legally, fully and properly is a term of art. It's a legal term of art. Measure 2 is a constitutional amendment. It sets out a policy. Fully and properly takes care of the argument that they make, that they say in here, we're not one-size-fits-all government. That's what fully and properly is. Down in Bowman County, you're not going to pave all the roads because that's not the proper way to do it there. There's a lot of history of legislation. There's a lot of history of litigation that defines what these things are. People say we don't know what the legal obligations are. Article 7, Section 8 of the state constitution defines what they are, and then we have North Dakota Century Code 11 for cities and 41 for counties that further define what they are. These aren't unknowns. They're there. We know exactly what they are.
So the idea, Charlene, that there are unanswered questions, which seems to kind of come up again and again, is something that you would you'd reject? You think it answers all the questions?
It answers the important questions, yes. And whatever questions it doesn't answer, I've spoken to several legislators, and at the end of the debate, I ask the question, are any of these questions, are any of these uncertainties insurmountable? And the answer invariably is no. So whatever unanswered questions, whatever, things might still be up in the air, they are answerable. They are things that we can address, we can resolve, and that's what statesmanship is all about. This invites our legislators, rather than just spending our money willy-nilly, rather than just abdicating on the whole question of property tax, this compels our legislators to be the statesmen that we elect them to be.
And some of the opposition I heard from Ed Schaefer and others in this is that that worries them. That quite honestly it gives the state legislature too much power. They'd rather have local control. They'd rather have these 2,100 subdivisions that Bob's just talking about have control. What about that argument that too much of the power goes to the state legislature?
Well, right now the legislature holds all the cards. In fact, if you go to your city or your county commission and you say, we don't like property taxes, please do something about it, they'll tell you, we can't do anything, it's a state issue. If you go to your legislator, he'll say, we can't do anything, it's your city and your county that's doing it. Neither side takes ownership for the problems that they have created.
It's a finger-pointing game.
It is.
Yeah, there's no question about that.
And who gets left with the bill? You and I do. The families do. Now, here is, if you go to our website, we have this 27-page document we leave to the state tax commissioner, and it outlines all the things that are currently funded by property tax, and it tells how many mills they can assess. Now, they can charge up to 4 mills for a library. If you want a library that's more than 4 mills, too bad. You'll have to raise your funds somewhere else. It says you can go up to 2.5 mills for emergencies. If you have more snow than average or a flood or something that costs you more than 2.5 mills, too bad. Find other sources. That's not local control. That's the state telling local governments how much money to collect and where to spend it. We're saying it's the other way around. The state has all these resources, give us the money, and allow the local governments to spend it the way they want to.
Is that what would happen, though, Bob?
That's exactly what had happened, because this is a constitutional amendment, and it says the state is going to fully and properly fund. The issue is what is local control? Local control isn't where you collect the money. Local control is who has the authority to spend it. Measure 2 constitutionally gives that authority to the school boards, which now have absolutely no authority over how they spend their school dollars. That's all directed either by the federal government or DPI, and it gives total authority to the leaders, the legislative body, and the executives of the political subdivisions. Right now, they do not have it. The state has it.
So why would to use your education example, why would the North Dakota Education Association oppose this?
They oppose it because the school boards, and actually it's not just the North Dakota Education Association, so the National Education Association has pledged $5 million to defeat it. If this gives control to the school boards, why would they do that? Because they don't want control on the school boards. They love to be able to control it from the top down. Here, the school boards, the people whose kids are in the school, are going to be able to decide what the curriculum is, what the textbooks they're going to use are, how they want to pay their teachers. Right now, they don't have that authority.
The one thing everybody seems to agree on is that reform is necessary, number one, and that property taxes are too high. So in that sense, you two have won an important debate here. Now, I think the question is Measure 2 the way to reform the system?
Actually, I think the real debate is property tax reformable? Now, our state legislature over the last 28 years has reformed property tax 135 times. Well, I'm sorry. If I take my car in to get it fixed 134 times, the 135th...
That's kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm going to take it out and shoot it.
A little bit by little bit by little bit. Yeah.
Here's the thing, and this is what I want your listeners to understand. Property tax is so unbelievably, incomprehensibly complicated. And because it is, they're able to manipulate it. We'll tweak a little mill here. We'll fix a little assessment there. We'll give a little exemption here, there, all around. And what are they doing? They're picking winners and losers. So that the result is here in Fargo, over half of the properties by value do not pay taxes. We do. The rest of us do. So over half the properties are already exempt. And we're not even aware of it because it's so complicated.
I only have a minute left, but I want to get this point in, Bob. You raised an issue that I thought I heard you saying, basically, that if this system happens, there'll be more revenue. There won't be less revenue. Almost a painless thing. And are you suggesting that, or are you suggesting that they're going to be forced to spend less?
No, I'm suggesting that we're going to have significantly more. Every economic development agency grants property tax exemptions to get businesses in, and they're doing that. They have to get legislative approval.
Now, local governments do that, though. You understand? I mean, they're doing it at the local level.
But they only do it with legislative approval.
The legislature has to approve it, and to get that approval, they have to demonstrate that abolishing those taxes will result in new incomes, sales,
additional
and income
revenues.
taxes that will more than make up for it. And that's exactly what happens. That's what our econometric study shows. This will actually pay for itself.
EmpowerTheTaxpayer.com to find out more about this. This debate starts now. It doesn't end now. The voters of North Dakota will have a say in June. We'll continue to have conversations about this in the full debate from today and these conversations up at ScottHannon.com. Thank you both.
Thanks,
Thank
Scott.
you.